That note, let's bring in our longtime friend and BYU TV colleague, David Nixon. Outstanding linebacker at BYU, played for the Raiders, the Texans, and the Rams. There's a brick with his name on it inside the new Raiders Stadium in Vegas where they honor their former players. So there's a Nixon brick, and we love having him on the show, even whether he's shaved or not. We still love him having him on the show, but he's been back from vacation. Are you growing a goatee
or something? What's this look?
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I got back from Mexico last night at about 7 p.m. I didn't have a chance to shave, so I figured I'd surprise you and all your viewers with a little bit of a Christmas beard going on.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, hey, we are surprised.
And here's the thing about Nick that you guys need to know. He is such a manly man that that like he'll shave in the morning, and if we're doing a show at night, he shaves again.
That's what
he shaves again.
That's
He's a 2-time-a-day shaver. This is a guy that can grow a full lumberjack beard in 1 week if he needs to. So don't mess with him. He's
got to
man's
shave
man.
when he comes on the show. He has to shave because they have to wear the makeup. You can't put makeup in the beard.
He can't make up his gray beard.
And they're in there trimming his hair and all this stuff. I'm like, this isn't a beauty shop.
No,
we're doing a pregame show.
It seems like a beauty shop.
It's not easy getting this already. I'm telling you, it's not easy.
Well, you heard those TV numbers. Why do we love football so much? What is it?
You know what's funny? I've actually been thinking about that because I was, as I mentioned, in Mexico, and they couldn't really care less about football. Although everywhere we went had all the NFL and college games on at the restaurants. So I think they started to catch on even more down there. I don't know what it is. I think this country is just rallied around the sport of football, this gladiator-esque type of game. I mean, it's interesting because New Zealand, they catch on to rugby, and South America's soccer. Everyone kind of has their sports. Europe is soccer. But we just love our American football here. And I'm glad we do, because for me, it is the best sport out there. And I was trying to explain this to my boys a couple of days ago that it is the best sport. It's the best team sport that you can have. Why? Because it tests you in every facet of life.
Yeah.
I mean, mentally, to understand the playbook and the complexities of the game, emotionally, the wins and the losses, and how agonizing those going to be with a field goal, an extra point missed, or a last second field goal. Like soccer, it's 3-0. Like you kind of know the game's going to be over, and whatever. And then the physical side, like there's no tougher sport. Yes, the hitting and everything like that, but then you think about when the sport is played. The bulk of the games are played from August to October, when it's hot outside, especially in the South, and it's hot. You're in these pads that weigh a lot, and you're sweaty. Like, I don't know. For me, it's the best team sport. You learn so much, and that's why I'm thrilled to have my boys play. I'm glad I played it, and of course, America loves watching.
And we all grew up playing baseball. Dave, you grew up playing baseball. I played baseball. We all played baseball, and they used to call baseball America's game.
Right.
And it's still part of the fabric of America, and it was a game that was that is big here. But what happened to baseball? And why baseball doesn't pack a stadium like an NFL stadium or a college stadium? 110,000 in Michigan Stadium on a Saturday afternoon.
I think it's the fact that you only have 12 college games a year, and you throw in, of course, bowl games and everything. You only have 12 of them, so it's not like you're playing 100 of them. I think just the fanfare, the fact that you back in 65,000 people close, and just the environment. I mean, baseball is awesome. Playoff baseball is fun.
Oh yeah, I love playoff baseball.
But you don't have the environment where you got the whole team, the whole crowd cheering and chanting and yelling, trying to throw an offense off or get them to draw it off a false start. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It is crazy how the fans get into it. And I think that's what makes it so fun. That's why I love taking my kids to the game. That's why I love going to games. Is because you get to participate in that fanfare. It's awesome.
What did you think of that Alamo Bowl?
Oh man, I mean, could you have asked for a better showing from this BYU football team?
Probably not.
I mean, they absolutely dominated. And yes, I think the defense, you would say the defense dominated more than the offense, but the offense took care of business. What I love about this offense performance is BYU just lined up and rushed the ball on them. They just said, hey, we're going to cram it down your throat, and they did just that. You look what the performance that L.J. Martin had with a couple of touchdowns, and they moved the ball well. But defensively, I mean, this was probably, I think, Jay Hill's best game from what I've seen here at BYU as a defensive play caller. And we always give credit to Jay Hill, but you saw the post-game comments from Gary Anderson. I mean, there's some guys, you include Kelly Papinga, Justin Enna. These are guys who have come from other programs, Gennaro Guilford, they brought all that experience and expertise, and they've thrown it all into this melting pot. And man, I wish I could go, and Kelly Paping has invited me to come to some of their staff meetings. But I would love to go sit in there for a couple of days for a game week prep week and just hear what's being tossed around and the different concepts and kind of different schemes that they're thinking about. Because you saw the quote by Gary Anderson. He said they said they tried they threw out 18 different looks in the first half and only repeated 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
No wonder Shedeur struggled trying to get a beat on this BYU defense.
Yeah, NFL guys don't see that many different coverages in a half of a game.
No.
That many different alignments and pre-snaps. Some people were asking me this week, like, what I was most impressed with, and I told them I wasn't surprised that BYU out-physicaled them, but Colorado came to that game with so much team speed. Yeah. And I never felt like BYU was at a disadvantage speed-wise. What was there something that jumped out to you, something along those lines, or something different where you're like, wow, I was most impressed with this?
I think it was, for me, that jumped off the page was the emotion of this team. I think this team, and this bottles up this 2024 season, that everyone counted out this BYU football team. Everyone wrote them off. I mean, you look at BYU when they're top 15 in the country, they go on the road to UCF and their dogs in that game. Like, everyone felt like BYU was overrated, and that eventually they were going to lose, and BYU just didn't, of course, until the end of the season. And in this bowl game, you heard the players, they were frustrated that all throughout the bowl prep and at the activities, like, everyone was giving all the love and attention to Colorado.
Yeah.
And they used that as motivation. And that, I mean, the emotion they came out and played with, their hair was on fire, right? Sometimes I wish we could have bottled that up and used that against Kansas or against Arizona State. But man, it was fun to see them come out and like we talked about, the biggest viewed game of BYU's history, and they just put on an absolute whooping of Colorado from the get-go. It wasn't even close.
Where do you think the Cougs will end in the poll here in a couple of weeks when the final one comes out?
Where I think they will, or where I think they should.
Tell us both. Give us both of those, because 11 teams in front of them lost in the bowl game.
Yeah.
And they're 17th. So
they're 17th. So naturally they should be a top 10. I think they are a top 10 worthy team when you look at their 2 losses being to Kansas, who had a great run at the end, and Arizona State, who gave Texas all they could have into overtime, double overtime. Those are your 2 losses. And the fact that you beat SMU, SMU didn't have a great showing per se, but great season. I think they're definitely top 10 worthy, especially with the performance of the Alamo Bowl. Where do I think they'll land? I think for some reason they'll get shafted, as we've seen, and end at 11, maybe 12.
Yeah, maybe
which
13.
is still an amazing season. It's funny, we're talking about this BYU team getting shafted with the final ranking of 11 or 12, but I think they are 100% top 10 worthy.
Yeah, we were both saying before you came on that we thought they should be a top 10, but they'd probably end up around 12.
Yeah.
Which is, although I will say the narrative after that game all over the country has been, they probably should have been in the CFP. That's one of the best. That's either the best or the second best team in the Big 12. It finally was nice to get that acknowledgement, because I think that win was so impressive that people finally gave them the credit that they were due at that point. And so who knows what people will think.
You know what's funny, though, and you guys have probably talked about this, in the past years, I always kind of just said, who cares ultimately, right? The end of the year ranking, whatever. But we've noticed, especially if you look at Miami as a kind of test case here, it matters, because this ranking is kind of, they use that as a gauge next year going into preseason rankings, right, where to rank people. And if you can start higher up in those rankings, in the top 15 or even the top 10, then there's more leeway there for you to go. If you do lose a game, you don't fall all the way down from 6 to 22.
Right.
You go from 6 to 14, right?
Yeah.
And then you can claw your way back up into that top 12. And so more than ever, these rankings matter. And when I say these rankings, even the preseason rankings.
Yeah.
And fortunately for BYU, with everyone they've got coming back, I got to think this will be a top 12, top 15 team come August of next year when those get released. And that excites me, because once again, now you're positioning yourself to have a great run, and you have a little bit more room if you do slip up, that you're not going to be out of the conversation for college football playoff in that large bid, but you're still in the thick of it because you only drop a few spots. You're not into the 20s.
Yeah, for sure.
So this linebacking core, like we would acknowledge, and I've covered it for years and played, so I've been around it for almost 40 years. that linebacking crew that you played with you on one side and with Brian Keel on the other side, and then you had a couple of different guys you played with in the middle, whether it was Cam Jensen or it was Bauman, or I'm trying to think, did you have a third or was it mostly those two?
Yeah, Sean Doman.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
IU. Yeah, we had a couple.
But you like Cam there in the middle. One of the greatest linebacking cores of all time, no question about it. You and Keel both played in the league. My junior year's team with Kurt Govea and Leon White and Kerry Whittingham and Marv Allen, those two outside guys played forever in the league together. Starters in the NFL. To me, those are always those are the two standards. The team that you played with and that '84 team for backers here. We've had some individual guys that are phenomenal, right? Yes. But I'm talking about as a unit, right? Yep. So now here's Jack Kelly, Harrison Taggart, and Isaiah Glasker all coming back next year. In my opinion, clearly the best in the Big 12 coming back. Where do you think they stack up as far as linebackers in the history of the program? Because you followed it for almost as long as I have.
I think they're number one, honestly. I think you stack them up there at the top. Obviously, we'll see how the numbers shake out. They're how long their careers are in the NFL and kind of what they do. But I think as a collective unit, what's fun for me to watch is they all bring us something a little bit different. I mean, frankly, Keel and I had very similar games. And then, of course, we played in a 3-4, so a little bit different scheme. This is more of a 4-3. But you look at what Isaiah Glasker brings to the table and his long ranginess, his ability to cover distance, and then quarterbacks trying to get the ball over the top of him. I mean, how difficult is that? We saw his pick against Colorado. Early in the season, it was against was it Kansas State, the one he returned for a touchdown, or Arizona maybe?
Yeah.
I lose track because he made so many plays. And then you've got, on the other side, Jack Kelly, who we saw his closing speed, his ability to spy a quarterback and mirror him. And all of a sudden, when that quarterback broke the pocket, he was on him like white on rice. I mean, it wasn't even close. And then, of course, you got Harrison Taggart, the big thumper inside. He just brings the wood. He just lowers his helmet, just crushes people, right? I mean, they all bring something a little bit different to the table, but as a collective unit, they just get the job done. And what I love about this coaching staff is they know that each one of those backers brings a little something different, so they dial up packages to take advantage of each of their strengths, right? I mean, it's not like they're asking Isaiah Glasker to go fill the B gap hard and become a thumper. No, they know that he's better in space. He's able to come up and force the run, but he's not necessarily a huge thumper. And they're not asking Taggart to go out in space and cover, right? They understand to keep him inside the box, get him to the hooks on the pass, but also bring him downhill and get after the quarterback. And so they dialed up coverages and blitzes and schemes to fit these guys' strengths and try to cover their weaknesses. And that's what's made him so special. And it's been fun to watch. And the fact that, assuming Jack Kelly, have we heard official news of whether Jack's coming back or not? We haven't heard if he's going, right?
No.
Yeah, and he didn't walk on senior day. Like, I think the plan all along is for him to come back. And they had talked with him earlier in the season. There's some things he wants to work on to improve his stock. So I think the plan is for all three of those guys to be back. And how about that? That's a nice core to start with, right?
Yeah, assuming there's no changes there. I mean, the fact they get another year together. And I'll say this about linebackers, that I had this luxury with Keel, who we played together for 2 years. You get to the point where you've had so many reps together that you understand how each other are going to fit. And you understand that when a blocker's coming, I can see Keel going to take on a blocker. I play with him so much that I know that he's probably going to take this and go inside. So let me cover up for him and see to the outside. And that's where you start to really work off each other. And so what's exciting is thinking that they've got this 1 year underneath their belt together. Now we go on to the second year and things get even better, right? And now they have even more confidence in the scheme and the system. And so they start to play a little bit more loose and they start to make even more plays. It just grows from there. And I think that's, for me, the exciting part, to get them to run it back, 1 more year.
BYU football linebacker, BYUtv football analyst David Nixon on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. On the stream, Boyd from Leander, Texas, Neil from Tucson, Nick from Pensacola, Florida, Glenn's in from the Philippines. Good to have you guys with us. Our Wise Guys Awards are coming up here in just a couple of minutes, where the live streamers can vote in on who should be the winner. Moving forward, we talk about spring camp starting at the end of next month. Where does BYU got to go? Where's the focus to, do better than 11-2? Where's the focus to not lose that game in November that you can't afford to lose? What do you think?
For me, that should be the theme and the mantra is finish strong. And that's something this team struggled with last year, losing the last 5. This year, you lose 2 out of your last 3. So obviously you got better. But to take it to the next level, you've got great teams finish strong. And yes, BYU finished strong in the bowl game. So that's something that I'd love to see. And that's a great indicator. But they've got to find a way to finish there at the end of the season. And a shout out to Ryan Phillips as well and his entire strength staff. The fact that this BYU team stayed as healthy as they did was a huge plus. And so I think you continue to harp on staying healthy and taking care of your bodies. But I think finishing as a team, I think that's where you have to improve. Offensively, Jake's just got to continue to make better and better decisions. And this is something we've always talked about on our Count on the Kickoff shows is you look at the touchdown to interception ratio, and most quarterbacks that have been around BYU for a while and played in the system for a couple of years get better and better. So we expect them to get better in that regard. But this running game's also got to get going. And it'll be interesting to see who out of these backs decides to step up and be the guy. We saw Moa come in and have some flashes of brilliance. Rapati, when he was healthy, looked pretty good. LJ Martin also when healthy, performed well. So that running back room and that running game just got to continue to get better. And in the passing game, you got stud receivers, just finding ways to give him the ball and get creative, and then just protecting Jake long enough and making sure that he makes good decisions because, there were a couple games there where he struggled and had some lapses and just got lazy, I think, a little bit. Yeah. And it cost the team.
Later in the show, we're gonna do a thing. We're gonna have some fun and do our Wise Guys Awards, and we're gonna let the fans weigh in on it. But we're gonna preview one of the questions. We're gonna ask everybody this, but we're gonna ask you first. So we're gonna ask you if you could pick an MVP of the assistant coaching staff. So just the assistant coaches. But you can't choose Jay Hill because that's just too obvious, right? So it can't be Jay. Plus, isn't Jay the associate head coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't count. He's not an assistant coach. He's the head coach of the defense. And we're going to make it multiple choice. So would you pick TJ Woods, the offensive line coach, Kelly Papinga, the special teams coach, Justin Enna, the linebackers coach, or Gennaro Guilford, the corners coach?
One MVP. That's all you can choose.
You got to choose from those 4. And I guess you could throw somebody else. I mean, we haven't even talked about. I know he's not a coach. I'm throwing Gary Anderson out there. I thought he was huge, right?
Yeah,
but he's not able to. You can't pick him.
What do you think?
I kind of feel like, listen, it's not because I'm biased I'm a defensive guy, but with how the defense performed this year, I think you kind of have to give it to a defensive coach.
Okay. That whittles it down to 3 or 2.
Yeah, it's got to be Kelly Papinga, Justin Enna, or Gennaro Guilford.
So, our BYU special teams this year was the best special teams performance I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
right
at BYU. Yeah,
at BYU. And once again, you're not playing New Mexico's and Wyoming's of the world. You're playing Big 12, P5 schedule. I think it has to go to K-pop. I think from the special teams perspective. Now, if you almost said, "Hey, special teams is separate for some reason," throw him out. I think Gennaro, you look at the corners, Jacob Robinson.
What was 23 picks or 24 picks?
23.
23 picks.
Number 1 in the country.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know how you don't give the secondary the game ball or in this instance, Gennaro.
Dave and I were talking about this before, Nixon, and we were saying, what about TJ Woods? And here's why. Here's the case for TJ. We're just throwing these different cases out. Because K-pop, you gotta consider how good the special teams were, right? Gennaro, you gotta consider the secondary was lights out, right? Maybe the best secondary we've ever had as a whole in the history of BYU. But what TJ did with all of the injuries he had and with what he was given, right? And to lose Connor Pay for a month and to move Bruce Mitchell in and develop him. What he did with Caleb Etienne, a guy that were like, can this guy even play? Like he was at right tackle. To move him to left tackle and to have him be first team all Big 12. So all of a sudden I'm going, well, geez, maybe we need to give it to TJ. Like you could make a case for every one of those. What I love is that we're talking about assistant coaching staff and unique things that each of these guys did, and we could get into the analyst staff and the everybody played a role in this, and the people that we just talked about all did tremendous things this last year, and that's what it takes to win 11 games, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that TJ went through my head when he first initially asked the question. I thought that, yes, moving Caleb, Bruce Mitchell, a guy we never heard of, who's converted D tackle, right?
Right.
Moved off of the line and all of a sudden played the way he did. And the way they protected Jake as well, no question. But I'm telling you, that defense.
Yeah, defense was lights out.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, when you number one in the country in interceptions, that's not an award that's just for the DBs. You got to get pressure on the quarterback. Right. I mean, typically most interceptions because he's got guys at his heels and he's got guys that have been smacking him in the face all game, where now he's rushed and hurried to get the ball out on the next play because he just got put on his back the play before. So, linebackers and D line, they get some credit for those interceptions their corners get. So it's everybody's working their butts off to get those, and so that's why it's tough. I'll tell you what, it's a great sign that we're struggling to find the winner, right?
Yeah.
Usually it's pretty clear who was the one position group that was outstanding. In this case, you have 4 or 5 different position groups that just crushed it this year.
Yeah. And I think that what gives K-Pop the edge, to your point, is not only was he coaching as part of the defensive staff and part, the rush ends, the outside backers and that, who did a tremendous job, but then also the special teams. So he gets a twofer, so we probably got to give it to him.
Now, votes are coming in on the stream. Hang on, guys. You're going to get a chance to vote here in a few minutes.
We could read some of these right now, but so D-line made the biggest jump. D-line coach, that's what Roy Wall's saying, right? And somebody says, Mark Johnson says, hey, K-Pop without a doubt. And then Boyd Lake says, wow, TJ Woods, massive positive effect on the offensive line in the career of several seniors, which is so true. And then he adds, Etienne is also an honorable mention All-American. And we were ready to throw him away. And then Howard Holmes says, Gennaro, the secondary was awesome.
Yeah.
And Conrad Monson says, I think they all did great, but K-Pop had the biggest impact on games. He unlocked something this year in our honestly lacking return game, and it won us games. So yeah, I think in the end, we're all going to go K-Pop because of special teams. Yeah. But I love this discussion because so many of those assistant coaches had such a big impact. And that's fun to have that kind of a discussion.
More questions on that coming up in just a sec. So when you have the league's number one defense, you have to have all these coaches, right?
Right.
You have to have this debate, or you're not number one. Speaking of number one, as Thailand rings in, Maryland, good to have you on the stream. College football's Final Fours here: Penn State, Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State later this week. Who do you like to win it all?
I tell you what, after what Ohio State did to Oregon, I think it's got to be Ohio State. I mean, they were so dominating. You look at Jeremiah Smith, the freshman receiver. I mean, what? I think he's had 270 yards and 4 touchdowns in two playoff games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably my pick. I just don't. I'm just not impressed with Notre Dame. They get the job done. And same thing with Texas. Texas looked great to start the game against Arizona State and kind of just fizzled out. I think my pick, in Penn State, I think Penn State will get exposed. So my guess is Ohio State, but I mean, that's the beauty of this 12-team playoff is, I mean, you never know, right? I mean, who would have guessed that the top 4 seeds would be out, right?
Yeah. Who do you? So let's go individual games. Penn State or Notre Dame? That's a matchup. What do you think?
Honestly, that's the tough one for me. I think both teams have their flaws. I'm gonna pick Notre Dame.
So you have Notre Dame in that championship game.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you've picked Ohio State over Texas. Interestingly, Ohio State and Texas. Texas's defense literally has NFL talent in almost every position. And so I'm going to be interested to see, because I do think Texas is way better defensively than Oregon. The thing that surprised me is Ohio State did a much better job of just shutting Oregon down than I thought they would, right? And so I think the matchup between Texas's defense and Ohio State's offense, I'm pumped to watch that.
Yeah. They're great semifinal games. What's crazy is that it is the 4 blue bloods, right? I mean, look at these programs. There's no G4s that, Boise State didn't make it through, and it's interesting how it's shaken out. But
big names, they're all big names.
But at the same time, Texas was in the Big 12 last year, so besides that, there's no SEC teams there.
Yeah.
Once again, the parity is playing out with the NIL and the
how about no blue blood SEC team?
That's nice.
There's no Alabama, there's no Georgia. That's hard to believe, right? And Clemson's been a blue blood from the ACC, and they've been down a little bit. So the fact that there's no Georgia, there's no Bama, there's no Clemson.
There's no really South team. I mean, you count Texas as the South team, but there's no Southern type teams, which is wow, that's the hotbed of football in the country, right?
Yep.
Our BYU TV colleague, former BYU and NFL linebacker David Nixon on the Wise Guys, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. A couple of more questions before you hit us with your 5 top hamburgers of all time, which will get us all hungry at the end of this
I'm
one.
hungry right now. That's going to make me worse.
Your brother-in-law, Taysom Hill, how did surgery go, and how's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing well. I just talked to him at length a couple days ago. He's already on the rehab train. He's getting back. Surgery went well. This one's a little bit longer recovery, right? He did a number to his knee, unfortunately, on this one. So they're hoping he'll be back in time for the season. But you're looking like a September type timeline. But I'll tell you, if there's anything that's talking about Taysom is he beats all those timelines, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And we were talking about just that. He's like, forget it, I'll be back. And the same type of deal. His physical therapist gave him a time frame of when he could play golf, and he's like, yeah, go ahead and bump that up a couple months. I'll be back.
Yeah, we'll see him out there.
He's a competitor, and he knows his body, and we've seen him come back from injuries time and time again. So, we talked about it. At his age. It came across his mind. He mentioned that maybe this is it, but he also mentioned in the same breath that I'm having the best time of my life. Right? I mean, he loves the Kupiak, the OC there in New Orleans, and the fan base loves him. They were chanting Taysom as they carried him off the field. I mean, and you've seen the stats when he's in the games and we're playing with the team. They're significantly more successful, and I think he adds this whole different element to him. And
I think they'd have been in the playoffs this year if he'd played the whole year. In that division.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where injuries, they were injury riddled, and then of course Taysom's kind of just tanked him at that point. But he's on the rehab. He's going after it. He'll be back here in Utah in the next probably next month or two. He's going to stay in New Orleans to rehab and then make his way back out here. They have a home down there in Provo. And,
we see him over at the
we get to
hangout
go play,
on occasion.
You need to come down.
This is the year to play Taysom in golf if he can't hit it.
I don't know how he's going to be in golf, but maybe we get the 4 of us out and go play.
Yeah, I like it.
Hey, another guy who's healthy, who has been healthy all year, Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah, unbelievable. 12.5
sacks for his career high. He needed one more the other night to get a $250,000 bonus, and he got it in the first quarter. And he stands up and he's flipping dollar bill signs from his hands. What about Van Noy? What impresses you the most about Kyle?
I absolutely love this story. I mean, I saw Kyle this offseason too, and we were talking about, hey, what's your deal? And he's like, well, I haven't signed with the team, but hopefully back with Baltimore. And sure enough, he goes back and has his best career year. I mean, I will say for what you start to lack as you get older and older playing football, as far as speed goes and just the energy and the strength, you gain up here mentally. And in the NFL, that's how you separate yourself. Everybody's bigger, faster, stronger. Everybody's a phenomenal athlete at that level. The guys that are successful are the ones from a mental standpoint, understand the game and understand how to take advantage of the game and how to get one extra step to where the ball is sooner to create a turnover or some big play. And so, when I got to the league, that was the biggest thing for me was, I can run laps around some of these older veterans. I'm faster than all these guys, but they were faster game speed wise because they knew where to go and they knew they could react that much faster. And so that's what you're seeing from Kyle Van Noy. He's seen it all. He's put every single pass rush move on a tackle that you could possibly do. and now he knows how to set these guys up and come away with sacks. And the fact that he got that sack, I loved it. I couldn't stop smiling because he's a dear friend and a fellow linebacker here at BYU and just an absolute stud and great representative of BYU. I mean, he's a great follow on Twitter. He loves BYU. He's a BYU guy. And it's fun to watch him kill him at the next level.
So fun. And 12.5 sacks is elite. Speaking of another guy that wears BYU on their sleeve, which I absolutely love when our guys get there. And Fred does really, too. And
Puka
does. I mean, those guys just like, hey, we're BYU guys through and through, and I love it. But this is the ultimate BYU guy. Our guy, Andy Reid. He's playing for NFL history. No teams won 3 Super Bowls in a row. And his Chiefs won the last 2. What do you think? Can they do it?
I do. And here's some parallels between BYU and the Chiefs right now. It's the culture that these coaches have built. And I look at what Andy Reid, they're winning games kind of barely, and we saw the same thing with BYU earlier this year too. But they have a winning culture that he's established there. And people buy in, and you don't doubt. When you're down, you're like, we've been here before. We know our coaches instilled this in us that we're going to come back and win. He's got the confidence in us. We got the confidence in him. And you just end up going out there rolling and performing. And it's incredible. I love watching him. And this was one of the things I was thinking about this BYU team that gets me so excited for next year is the culture that Kalani's built. But it's not just Kalani. Frankly, it's the entire institution of BYU. Like, you think about President Reese and Vice President Borking and kind of Tom Homo, the athletic department. You look at the entire football staff. Everyone has bought into this vision that Kalani set out and that the entire institution has set out. There's support everywhere across the board. And for me, I think that's what's exciting. Of course, you got fan support. Now you got donor support. Now money's starting to roll through, right? And everything's starting to click. And you have a special season like you had this year for BYU. And I only see this continue on an upward trajectory. I was talking to some fellow the team up north fans. And
I told everybody before you came on, Nix, that you live in the heart of Ute country.
I do. And they feel the exact opposite. And not that we need to talk about them on this show, but it's, BYU has been there. But even last year on our 5-7 record, the same record they had, I didn't feel like desperation per se. Yeah. You're bringing back Jake, who's a young quarterback, and there was some optimism there. But for me, with where BYU is at right now and the support they have, and I mean, this is an exciting time to be a BYU fan. You got to soak it in. And it's funny. I think we don't take them for granted, right? We're grateful for these seasons because we've been in the past where, just last year, 5-7, a losing season. So I think we cherish them even more. And it's fun that, hopefully I think where this program is headed, you're going to have more of these type of 10, 11-win seasons.
All right, I don't know how Vegas is going to respond, but the Knicks has said Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl.
There you go. Hey, by the way,
so we'll find out how that goes.
Before we get to 5 questions, so Sylvia is going to go opposite of you. Sylvia texted her. She says, I picked Penn State and Texas to win their games. So she's going complete opposite of you. But she does say, now she does add, I am so sorry about Taysom that he got hurt, and I am going to pray for him. Go Taysom.
Yeah. I love that.
So,
thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, and listen, I've had a lot of outreach. I talked about that. He's, of course, had a ton of outreach. I think, I'll be honest, that helps. And when you come off of surgery, and even admitted to me, you come out of surgery, it's tough. Your leg's aching or your body part's aching, and the pain meds maybe haven't kicked in, and next thing you're thinking like, why am I even playing this game? And lots of bad thoughts go through your mind. I think all the support and any outreach and just showing whatever you can, it's always well appreciated. And not only Taysom, but any athlete out there, right?
Yeah.
Those are tough times coming off those injuries because you work so hard to be prepared to be able to play the sport you love, and then all of a sudden, 1 second later, it's snatched away from you. And so it's an emotional roller coaster, but those prayers are always appreciated.
Yep.
Good stuff. Your credibility now hinges in what you're about to offer mankind.
Yes.
Our 5 questions are presented by Strategy Square, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies, owned and operated by a BYU alum who's helping the wise guys conquer the world. You can reach Chantal at strategysquare.co. Tonight, we're asking David to reveal his top 5 hamburger outlets of all time. Now, there may be more debate over what you're about to say in the next 2 minutes than anything you've said in the previous 35. But I know you stand behind your beliefs, and so lay them on us.
Yeah, this is the only top 5 there is. So everyone else watching, you're wrong.
Are you doing them in an order?
You going 5 to 1?
Yeah, that you love out there?
I'll give you 5 to 1, but let me just go with the absolute worst burger there is, just to get out of the way, which is InNOut. Just so it's noted.
InNOut went on your worst list right out of the gate?
It's the worst burger ever created.
And here's the thing. I don't get the whole InNOut thing. All my friends from California, wait till InNOut gets here.
I love
now
it.
InNOut's here. I'm like, okay,
I love InNOut.
it's okay.
Yeah, it's a top 5 worst.
Wow. Okay, I'll put that in the worst. Number 1.
Wow.
I'll be honest. 5, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming right out of the gate.
Hey, listen, I'll be honest. It's a little bit of a hot take, but I stand by it. Okay, so number 5, I'm going to go with Of the Chains, which I'll throw InNOut in there, sure.
It doesn't have to be chains, of course, but of the chains. Yeah, number 5.
Yeah, Of the Chains. I'm gonna go like for me, a Wendy's burger
Okay.
is that, that's
Nothing
a
wrong with
solid
Wendy's.
burger for number 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
Wendy's. Dave and I
can
like
go
Wendy's.
with
When we've been on the road, around the
sure,
road doing games
absolutely.
and stuff, sometimes we'll
Yeah.
just get a Wendy's. A single cheese, everything. Nothing wrong with that.
It's respectable.
Yes.
Okay, number 4 is a local gin, and a lot of you have had it. Crown Burger.
Crown.
Like a Crown Burger for me, there's no Crown Burgers in Texas where I grew up.
Do you get the
Crown
Crown
Burger.
Burgers, Crown Burger
With the pastrami
special
on
with
it?
the pastrami on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put a little. I mean, they got a little bit of everything. Yeah, there's
Those
one
guys are
downtown
great.
lit up.
Yes.
It's a good spot.
Okay.
Number 3, this is a little bit of a surprising one, but I'm going with the Habit. And
I like Habit Burger, and I love their fries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fries are great. The Habit Burger, you know what a goat. Here's a little secret. So you guys know I get on these weird diets. One of them is the carnivore diet, and you can get 5 patties, just the patties, for like $7.
What?
So if you want to eat healthy, cut out the bread. Just ask for 5 side patties. It's like $7.
You eat all 7 right at the same
Five
time?
side
What?
patties.
How do you even get your mouth over that?
Wow. You just
Yeah,
eat them with a
it's-
fork and knife.
Yeah, you get a fork and a knife and just cut them up.
And that's the healthy diet? Give me 7 patties. I'm eating all that.
It's the protein, lots of protein, Dave.
That's when Dave, like, Nixon
Habit
and I were
Burger.
talking at the bowl game, and we both were like, okay, we're disgusted with what's become of us, and we were going to get lean. And he told me, do the carnivore diet. That's what he told me.
Okay.
So
Done it several times.
The carnivore.
If you have any questions, reach out to me on Twitter, on X. I will. I'll give you some details.
Well,
on
just
the
so
get
you know,
just get half a
I'm
cow and
down
just eat
3.
it.
I'm down 3 since we talked. Just down 3.
Okay.
Not talking.
Yeah, and I got like 9 to go.
I can only wonder where we go from here after the Habit Burger.
All right, number 2, and this one is I'm putting it normally be my number 1, but we don't have any here in Utah.
Oh,
It is Whataburger.
That's a Texas thing.
Whataburger. Yeah, that is a Texas
Some
thing.
people say Whataburger. No, it's Whataburger.
You know, on my mission, I was exposed to Fuddruckers for the first time.
Yeah, watch your mouth.
And I said, then I go, can we even go in there and eat? Is it this what it's called? Can missionaries go into Fuddruckers and eat? And we did, but that was a Texas thing for me. And so was
Whataburger is definitely
Whataburger.
Texas. Yeah.
By the way, I'm counting if you go to like a Ruth's Chris and get a burger, like that's fantastic.
Yeah,
right? I'm
that's
counting
excellent.
kind of your more fast
Gotcha.
dining,
Yeah.
quick serve.
Yeah.
And then my number 1 is, I think this is a clear number 1. And yes, it costs you $20-$30 by the time you walk out the door.
Wow.
But Five Guys. Five Guys.
Five
and
Guys.
That's number 1.
It's a pretty clear number 1. I'll be honest.
That's Gavin likes Five Guys. Yeah, he likes
Yeah.
Five Guys. He makes me take him to Five
So
Guys.
Wendy's, Crown Burger, Habit Burger, if you're on the carnivore diet, Whataburger, and Five Guys.
I mean, it's like I said, it's not even debatable. So
I'm gonna throw a couple out there. So Boyd Lake says, "What about fries and fry sauce? That little acorn? I don't know what little acorn is, but." What about Seek Hanneman, our buddy from Hawaii, and the Hanneman brothers with 7 brothers?
7 brothers are pretty
brother,
good.
I've had that burger.
Yeah.
I get used to a little more. I've only had it once
Yeah.
or twice. So.
I like the hamburger at Chubby's.
Yeah, Chubby's has
Chubby's
a
is
good
good
hamburger.
hamburger.
Our friends at Chubby's do a good hamburger.
Yeah.
JCW's does a good hamburger. Here's the one that I'm gonna tell you guys right now. And Dave, I don't know if you've even had this, but it's not far from your house. It's in Sandy. It's its own place. It's called the Dog House, Haus. It's like just tiny bit north of 100. So it's like between 102nd and 103rd South on State Street in Sandy.
Interesting.
And it's called the Dog House. They're famous for all different kinds of hot dogs, but they make a burger and they put it on like 4 Hawaiian roll buns. That's the bun, like Hawaiian rolls. And it is cooked to order. And I'm telling you, if you go there and you eat a burger at the Dog House, you will put it at number 1. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
So the next time you're in a fight with your wife and you're in the doghouse, you should go to the doghouse and grab a sandwich. Is that what you're saying?
Haus Dog House. I think it's like German or something. And so you would think they would only be hot dogs, but their burger is like, everybody in my family would agree that sometimes we'll just take a drive up to Sandy, 30 minutes, and go to the Doghouse for a burger.
So DOG.
Haus. It's
The Dog
It's about
House.
103rd South in State Street in Sandy.
All right. Well, we've learned a lot in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah.
4.3 miles from my house, it's saying.
There you go.
That's close enough to give it a
it's
shot.
right by you. You got to give it a shot, and then I want to know what you think.
Nick says, I value your opinion and think a lot of you, but as I look at that list of all wonderful candidates, I'd still go to InNOut first.
No!
I just would.
So Joel Halverson says Five Guys is the best. Gary Johnson says Whataburger in the 80s was the best thing there was. And Boyd Lake mentioned the Little Acorn. I don't know where that is. But Carmel says InNOut, so-so. So
hey, I'll tell you, Fleming's has a great hamburger there in downtown Salt Lake, too.
You can
listen,
all
if we're
steak
gonna open
places
up,
are
like
yeah.
sit down restaurants.
No, we're not opening it up. I'm just saying.
You can go to Roost Chris and get a crazy hamburger.
just saying.
You can go, but we're not counting those. It just has to be a burger place.
Yeah, I want to. I mean, I'm gonna get a Wagyu beef hamburger, right?
Boyd says the Little Acorn was and may still be on Highway 6 in the mouth of Spanish Fork Canyon next to Chevron. So
okay.
I'll make it down there that much, but it sounds like I need to.
That's like, and you guys both from Tech. Dave served in Texas, McCann did, and you're born and raised there. Barbecue in Texas, the best barbecue places are all attached to gas stations down there. Yeah. And it's phenomenal.
That's where it all starts.
Because they use some of the fuel to cook it. Yeah. Just soak that in some unleaded and throw it on the grill. Hey.
So what Mark Johnson says, I live in San Diego. I've not heard of the Doghouse. Mark, you need to go. I'm telling you guys.
Blaine, this is a revelation. I feel like I'm looking at it. It's across from Slackwater for those that are local to the area.
Yeah.
For Southtown Mall.
It's my tip of the night. And Angela Rasmussen says InNOut is out. All capital. Out.
Come on, Angela.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm not the only one that thinks this.
No, I know.
Kim's with you. She's like, Whataburger's good. Kim's saying Whataburger is good.
Bullseye says Brand X in Springville.
Brand X in Springville 20 years ago. So I don't think Brand X is there anymore.
My wife, just so everyone knows, my wife is from California. So yes, I'm going to be put in the doghouse for putting him as dead last.
You know, when she says you're in the doghouse, say, you know what, let's go to the doghouse.
I told you this segment was going to be a problem.
Do you know what I'm talking? You know those Hawaiian rolls that they're just so good? The doghouse puts their burgers on Hawaiian rolls. How do you beat that? And it's so juicy, you got to take a stack of hamburgers or a stack of napkins with you to eat that thing.
We got to wrap up our food segment. We still have the Wise Guys Awards. Next, thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Camp's next month, and so
you gonna come down to any basketball
enjoy your
games?
respite from us for a little bit, but we'll be back.
I'll keep growing this out, so next time I see you, it'll just be.
Well, I can't remember if it was
Grizzly,
Linda Murray
Nixon.
or somebody early on. It might have been. I think it was Sylvia said that she thought you looked pretty good in that.
Yeah, Sylvia said a lot on this show so far tonight. Shake Shack. There's him for Shake
My wife
Shack.
thinks as well. So
but BH's question, he's going InNOut, one of the worst, and you say Wendy's? Wow.
Yeah.
So Mark Lynch says Shake Shack for the win. Shake Shack for the win. And I kind of like Shake Shack.
What's Neil say? High Boy, great burgers in Independence, Missouri.
Missouri. Okay.
Chubby's, InNOut.
Boyd's saying Rudy's, great brisket in Springville.
Okay, now I'm hungry.
There you go. Now, you know what? I'm starving right now. We cannot go on with
Next, this
anymore.
interview's over.
All right.
Say hi to your family.
Thanks, brother.
Good
to see you.
Thanks, guys.
That's David Nixon, our longtime friend and colleague at BYUtv. He makes our shows fun.